At the core of the human problem is paranoia. The word comes from ancient Greek and literally means a state of being beside oneself in mind, though I'd write it as a state of being beside oneself in mind. Being beside oneself means being in mind. A you has been created in mind, and through identification has become yourself. This you is separated from other selves and the world around it, and thus the stage for the paranoid drama is set. So paranoia comes with separation. Paranoia is the feeling of separation. Normally, paranoia is defined as the irrational belief that everyone's out to get you. It's the tendency to interpret ordinary events as threatening. Something's about to happen that will hurt me. We could even say that paranoia is a spectrum. On the one side of the spectrum, we have the regular human paranoia that is a kind of low-grade anxiety, trying to figure your life out and make it work. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have the clinical, acute version of paranoia that comes with believing intelligence agencies are pursuing you so they can sell you to aliens for rectal probing. The regular human paranoia manifests as believing that whatever's presently happening should not be happening. Something else should be. And because this happens often enough, we might start wondering what we're doing wrong or what's wrong with the world. Here the paranoia really flowers. We start doubting ourselves and the world, not in the adventurous spirit of let me question everything, but in the fearful spirit of what if it all goes wrong? A question like, what if it all goes wrong, doesn't need to feel paranoid. It could feel prudent. The thoughts are less important than what appears to drive them. What I'm describing isn't what we usually call paranoia. I'm calling it paranoia because it's a nice word and because the essence of paranoia is believing I am here and something else is out there, and that which is out there can control, hurt, affect me by its presence or absence. And this is our experience when we're living under the illusion of separation. Many people never wonder about the root of the dilemma. Perhaps because they're not suffering enough to really ask what the heck's going on here. They're not paranoid enough to consider that there might be something else going on. But I'm not saying that everyone should care, nor am I pathologizing the human experience. Despite appearances, nothing is wrong. Everything is a wonderful, perfect mess. Whether you care to know this directly or not, both are perfect, both are just right, because both are an expression of this wonderful, perfect mess. If we do care, at some point, we begin attacking the illusion of separation. We attack by engaging with practices, meditation, inquiry, etc. And most likely these approaches do have an effect. Some changes happen. There's a time and a use for everything. But there's a limit to what they can do. The limit is built into every practice and method by necessity. The limit is that all of it is still a subtle attempt at managing, controlling, tracking, and experience. All of these are an expression of paranoia in its most elevated and refined form. The thing about paranoia is that it's not just thoughts. It's also energetic, somatic. You might be intellectually convinced that separation is an illusion. You no longer believe in separation as an existential fact, and yet something hasn't received the memo. You feel it in the familiar tension that keeps an identity structure alive, that is more subtle and persistent than thoughts and beliefs. That's the paranoia, the metaphysical distress at the core of your being, the sense that something isn't right, but you don't know what, even after all the insight and awakening. I don't want to prescribe anything here. I want to point at something that you might have noticed as well. This, what I'm calling paranoia, isn't dissolved by adding more practices, by reaching for temporary reliefs, by treating parts of your experience as if they're separate from the whole, by effort, struggle, control. It may dissolve when our usual approaches have outlived their usefulness, when ideas of becoming, growing, progressing stop being existential, when even the subtlest attempts to be someone experiencing something are exposed. It doesn't happen all at once, and it isn't a dramatic event. It's just that some things that used to happen, such as activities aimed at being perceived a certain way, might no longer happen. But nothing needs to dissolve, and even if all the activities go on like before, it's not a problem because there's no ideal to measure yourself against. Measuring yourself against an ideal is another expression of paranoia. And believing there's separation and paranoia and it has to disappear is about as paranoid as it gets. Besides, you know you're none of it in particular. You're the welcoming open space that has room for it all.